Hey, you speak French, don't you?
Mais oui.
Did you learn that at Harvard?
Yeah.
You went to Harvard.
Harvard. You know what? I'm surprised
So-
it took this long to mention it in the podcast.
Well, you used to call it a drop in the H bomb.
Dropping the H-bomb.
Drop in the H bomb.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yep.
And I'm not sure if it was you or me. Like, how long does it take before when you meet somebody before you drop the H bomb?
Yeah, it's true. You have to artfully work it into the conversation because you say things like, when I was in college in Boston, things like that. And
Yeah,
then
where did you
eventually it comes
go?
up.
BU, BC?
There was
No,
there was a
great
writer
job.
that I worked with who always made fun of me for talking about it a lot, which I super didn't talk about it a lot. But if you mention it once, then that's it. Then
Yeah.
all he does is talk about it. And
So, okay.
they had they have a credit card. There's a Harvard like MasterCard. And it's like a great way of like if you're on a date and you want to, you haven't mentioned it the whole meal. So you're like, I got this. I'll put it on my Harvard card. I sent that to her. But anyway, yeah, it's funny because it's been a long time. I mean, it was like I was like there around the time of the school's founding.
Did you have a long beard and
Exactly.
a steeplechase hat?
Yeah, exactly. Pilgrim shoes.
So did you so did you study French at Harvard?
Yeah. So what happened was
Because I know you went to France. Did you
I went to
study
France.
there?
Well, you know what? It was the weirdest thing. I had no interest in France or French culture or Paris or anything, but I had a girlfriend who did at the time, and she was like obsessed with
But you
Paris.
ate fries, right?
I loved fries
Oh, okay.
and I ate French onion soup from time to time, and French the French pavilion at Epcot.
Oh, of course, yes.
But so this girlfriend of mine was desperate to go to Paris for spring break, so we went to Paris. I was like, cool, I'm going away with my girlfriend, not complaining. But it was a weird thing happened where as soon as I went there, I just like fell in love. Like on that first day, I was like hit by the thunderbolt. And like I said to myself, it was the year before I started college, I was like, when I go to college, I'm going to learn how to speak French and I'm going to live here someday. It's still a very big part of my life. I make a point of, because it's like a use it or lose it thing.
Yeah.
So I like listen to French podcasts like pretty much every day. Like I try to get my news from French podcasts and stuff.
Yeah.
And
Now my mom's side of the family is all from French-speaking Canada.
Yeah, you speak French.
From I understand it better than like use it or lose it.
Mm-hmm.
I understand it really well. So if I'm around people who are speaking French, I can understand the conversation.
Yeah.
But to kind of regurgitate it and throw it back out there, I have to really think about passé composé and accent grave and
all the different tenses.
Yeah, all the verb tenses. It just kind of screws me up at this point. But thank goodness I'm around hockey players, and a lot of them are from French-speaking Canada. But
Yeah.
my grandparents, Norman and Etta Comeau, from Bathurst, New Brunswick, Canada. My grandfather didn't say we, he said ouais.
It's very
Ouais.
Canadian.
Ouais.
Although the kids say that. What?
Ouais.
It's like cool. It's like
Yeah.
it's like saying yeah.
What did you study? What was your major at Harvard?
So my major was English. Like
Because you didn't know how to speak?
Yeah, because that was I was like, two things. When I go to Harvard, I'm going to learn how to speak French and English. I was obsessed with the movie Dead Poets Society. Like I love Dead Poets Society, and it got me super into English and American, like into literature. And so when I went there, I was like, I got a Brooks Brothers charge card and a pea coat. I wanted to be like a kid from Dead Poets Society, and so I studied literature. By the time I got like super good at French, it was too late to switch majors. Like, because they had a literature major where you could pick a language, but I was not advanced enough like to get there in time, But by my senior year, I did a semester abroad in Paris, and my French was really good at that point.
Because Harvard can teach you French better than most of the other universities.
Oh yeah, can
It
you imagine
becomes
trying to learn French at Yale?
or Princeton. So beneath me. So okay, so now you graduate from Harvard, and the whole world's open to you. You've got a degree in English, and you can speak French. So how did you?
When you say it like that, I feel like such a failure.
I'm gonna rip up this Harvard charge card.
Go back into show business.
So how did you gravitate towards back to show business?
Well, it's funny. I didn't even think about it. It was sort of like a robot. I would just I went back to Hollywood, and I didn't even have like a plan. It was almost like I was like retired. Like I described like those first couple years out of college. I was like Larry David on Curb Your Enthusiasm, just sort of like aimlessly wandering around, getting myself into trouble and stuff. And but I always knew I wanted to like try writing. And so I finally like got serious and buckled down and started writing a couple of like spec episodes of TV shows. And in fact, I think one of the first ones I ever wrote was for Bob's show that he did called Raising Dad.
Oh yeah, right.
And I was like, and I like sent it to Bob, and he raved about it. He was so genuinely like thought it was good.
Right.
He left me this like long gushing voicemail that I saved. I still have to this day, and it meant so much to me. It sort of like inspired me to keep trying and keep going. And I remember then I wrote like a Scrubs spec,
Right.
and I gave it to a director that I knew. Anyway, I got into writing in a very weird way, which is that I did it the traditional way. Like I became an assistant, like a writer's assistant on a show, and got promoted to finally being a writer, and rose up through the ranks.
So then, where were you? You were on staff somewhere?
Yeah.
So what was the first show you were on
So
staff
the first show I ever worked on in the writing room was called Like Family. It was a WB show. And then I went over for my first staff writing job was on a show called What I Like About You with Amanda Bynes and Jenny Garth.
Yeah.
And that was my first like regular writing gig. And then I was really lucky. Like from there, it's sort of like I just worked very consistently on like dramas and comedies and just the first time I actually ever took a break was when we started doing Fuller House, and then I had to make this really like gut-wrenching decision to like not be on a writing staff for a while,
Right.
And I continued to write. I sold pilots every year. We did Fuller House, and I'd be up in my dressing room writing a pitch or a pilot script. But it's been a really good run, and it's been a lot of fun.